She was just a scared little girl who asked bikers to walk her home. Within minutes, 250 riders had blocked every street in the city. The man hunting her had no idea he'd just made the biggest mistake of his life. The birthday cake had been pink with purple butterflies. Lily remembered that detail because she'd been staring at it when her phone buzzed with her mom's text. Traffic jam on Highway 9. Might be 20 minutes late. Stay inside Emma's house, sweetie. But Emma's house was chaos. 12 screaming kids hopped up on Sugar, Emma's dad already looking exhausted as he tried to corral them for one more game. Lily had slipped out the front door before anyone noticed, figuring she'd just walk toward the pickup spot. It was only 4 blocks. She'd done it in daylight plenty of times. That was her first mistake. The streetlights on Maple Avenue flickered like dying fireflies, casting shadows that stretched and twisted. Lily clutched her goodie bag, a plastic pumpkin filled with candy even though it wasn't Halloween, and walked fast, her pink sneakers slapping against the pavement. That's when she heard the footsteps behind her. At first, she told herself it was nothing. Just another person walking. Maple Avenue connected to the main shopping district, so plenty of people walked here. But when she glanced back, her stomach dropped. A man. Tall. Hood up despite the warm September night. Walking at the exact same pace as her, maintaining the exact same distance. Lily walked faster. Her heart hammered against her ribs. The footsteps behind her sped up too. Don't run, she thought. Mom said running makes you look like prey. But her body wanted to run. Her legs trembled. She could see the glow of the 24-hour quick-stop ahead, its neon sign buzzing like a beacon. Just 2 more blocks. She could make it. She risked another glance backward. The man was closer now. Close enough that she could see his face was deliberately turned away from the street cameras. Close enough that when he noticed her looking, he smiled. Lily ran. The goodie bag fell from her hands, candy scattering across the sidewalk. She didn't care. She sprinted toward the quick stop, her breath coming in sharp gasps, her vision tunneling. Behind her, she heard his footsteps change rhythm, no longer matching hers, but gaining. She burst into the quick stop parking lot and immediately noticed them. Motorcycles. At least 20 of them, parked in a tight formation near the air pump. Men in leather vests covered with patches stood in a loose circle, drinking coffee from paper cups and laughing about something. A charity ride, based on the banner stretched across one bike, Iron Circle MC, riding for Children's Hospital. The irony wasn't lost on Lily, even in her panic. Please. The word ripped from her throat as she stumbled toward the closest biker, a large man with a gray beard. Please, can you walk me home? The laughter died instantly. The man, his vest read Ironside, President, above a gear symbol, dropped to one knee, putting himself at Lily's eye level. His brown eyes behind wire-rimmed glasses were kind but sharp. Slow down, honey. What's wrong? There's a man, Lily gasped, pointing back toward Maple Avenue. He followed me. He smiled at me. She didn't have to explain more than that. Ironside's expression hardened into something that reminded Lily of her teacher's face when someone broke a rule. But colder. He stood and whistled, one sharp note that cut through the parking lot. Every biker turned toward them. We've got a shadow, Ironside called out. Kid says she's being followed. The change was instantaneous. Coffee cups were tossed into a trash can. Casual conversation stopped. The bikers moved with a purpose that made Lily feel safer and more frightened at the same time. Within seconds, they'd formed a loose semicircle around her, blocking her from the street. Ironside pulled out his phone, already dialing. Where's the guy now? He asked Lily gently. She pointed toward the corner of Maple and 3rd. He was right behind me when I ran. There, a younger biker with a mohawk and neck tattoos gestured toward a figure standing beneath a broken streetlight. The man from before, pretending to look at his phone. But his eyes kept flicking toward the quick stop. Toward Lily. Ironside spoke into his phone, his voice calm but commanding. Yeah, we need backup at the quick stop on Maple. Got a possible predator situation. Bring everyone on the north route. He paused, listening. I don't care if they're eating dinner. I said everyone. A bald man with a scar across his face crouched beside Lily. His vest identified him as Reaper. What's your name, sweetheart? Lily Martinez. Okay, Lily. You did exactly the right thing coming to us. We're not gonna let anything happen to you. Where do you live? Oak Ridge Street. My mom was supposed to pick me up, but she's stuck in traffic. We'll handle it. Reaper pulled out his own phone. What's your mom's number? As Lily recited the numbers, she heard it, a sound that started as a distant rumble and grew into a roar. More motorcycles. Lots of them. They appeared from side streets and the main road, engines thundering, headlights cutting through the darkness like searchlights. 10 bikes. 20. 30. The man on the corner noticed too. His casual pretense dropped. He took a step backward, then another. Don't you dare, Ironside muttered, but the man was already moving, slipping into the alley beside the closed hardware store. He's running, someone shouted. Let him, Ironside said firmly. Our job is the girl, not playing hero. Thor, Reaper, keep eyes on that alley. If he comes back around, I want to know. 2 bikers peeled off, positioning their bikes at angles that blocked the alley's exit to the main street. The rumbling grew louder. More bikes arrived. The quick-stop parking lot looked like a motorcycle convention. Lily counted 40, then 50, then lost track. A woman ran out from the quick-stop, her employee vest flapping. What's going on? You can't all. Call the police, Ironside cut her off. Tell them we have a child in danger and a possible abduction attempt. Tell them the Iron Circle has her safe, but they need to get here now. The employee's eyes widened as she looked at Lily, then at the wall of bikes, then back at the empty alley where the predator had vanished. She ran back inside. Lily's phone buzzed. Her mom, probably asking where she was. But when she looked at the screen, it wasn't her mom. It was her 15-year-old brother Marcus. Where are you? Mom's freaking out. That's when Lily realized, her real problems were just beginning. There, a biker named Torch pointed toward the hardware store's roof. Movement. He's watching us. Lily's blood went cold. The man hadn't run away at all. He'd climbed up the fire escape and was crouched behind the store's faded sign, his silhouette barely visible against the night sky. He's not alone, a burly man called Diesel muttered to Ironside. Predators like this, they work in teams. One follows, one drives the van, one scouts exits. Ironside's jaw tightened. He raised his hand, and the rumbling of motorcycles immediately quieted to an idle purr. In the sudden near silence, Lily heard something that made her skin crawl. Another engine. Not a motorcycle. A vehicle idling somewhere close, but out of sight. Reaper, Ironside said quietly. Circle the block. Find that vehicle. The massive bald biker nodded once and kick-started his bike, disappearing around the corner with 2 others following close behind. Lily's phone buzzed again. This time it was her mom. Baby, Marcus says you're not at Emma's. Where are you? Before Lily could answer, Ironside gently took the phone. Let me talk to her. He hit the call button and waited. Mrs. Martinez? This is John Ironside. Your daughter is safe with me right now. No, ma'am, please listen, she's fine. We're at the quick stop on Maple Avenue with about 60 members of the Iron Circle Motorcycle Club, and your daughter is completely safe." A pause. Lily could hear her mother's voice rising to a shriek through the speaker. "Ma'am, someone followed her. A grown man stalked your 9-year-old daughter for 4 blocks." Ironside's voice was steel. "She did the smart thing and asked for help. Now we need you to stay calm because we have a situation developing here." More bikes arrived. 70. 80. The street looked like a river of chrome and leather. Store owners peered out from locked doors. A few residents came out onto their apartment balconies, phones recording everything. Ironside addressed the group, his voice carrying authority. "We're not taking her home the direct way. Too many blind corners, too many places for an ambush. We're going through downtown, bright lights, traffic cameras, witnesses everywhere." "That's 12 blocks out of the way," someone protested. "And it's the safest route. Formation Plan Delta. The kid stays in the center. Thor and I ride point. Reaper and Diesel take rear guard. Everyone else fills the gaps. Nobody breaks formation for anything." Lily had never felt so small and so protected at the same time. The bikers moved around her like a well-trained army, bikes positioning themselves in a tight diamond pattern with her at the center. That's when Reaper came roaring back, his face grim. "Found the van. White panel van, no windows, parked behind the old laundromat on 4th Street. Engine running, driver's seat empty." The pieces clicked together in Lily's mind before the adult said it out loud. The man on the roof. The running van. They'd been planning to grab her. "He was hurting you," Diesel said quietly, standing protectively near Lily. "Following you toward that van. If you hadn't run when you did." "He didn't finish. He didn't have to." Sirens wailed in the distance. Red and blue lights flickered at the end of Maple Avenue. Finally, Ironside muttered. But then his expression changed. The police cars weren't slowing down to talk. They were accelerating, taking aggressive positions, blocking the parking lot exits. Car doors flew open. Officers emerged with hands on their weapons, not drawn, but ready. "Everyone stay where you are." A male officer's voice boomed through a loudspeaker. "Step away from the child." Lily's stomach dropped. They thought the bikers were kidnapping her. "No," she screamed, but her voice was drowned out by the motorcycle engines and the police commands. Ironside slowly raised his hands, and around him, 60 bikers did the same. "There's been a misunderstanding, officer. We're protecting this child from." I said step away from the child. Everything happened at once. The man on the roof used the distraction to climb down and disappear into the alley. The white van's engine revved somewhere in the darkness. And Lily, terrified that the people who'd saved her were about to be arrested, did the only thing she could think of. She ran straight toward the police line, tears streaming down her face, her voice breaking as she screamed the words that would change everything. "They're helping me. The bad man is getting away." But in the chaos and confusion, with motorcycle engines rumbling and officers shouting commands, her small voice was lost in the noise. The standoff had begun, and the real predator was slipping through their fingers. The bikers stood frozen with their hands raised, watching helplessly as their suspect escaped into the night. Officer Daniel Wright saw the little girl running toward him and every instinct screamed wrong. 60 bikers surrounding one child. A frantic 911 call from a convenience store employee about a gang situation, a missing child report filed 20 minutes ago by a panicked brother. It looked like an abduction in progress. "Stop right there," Daniel commanded, but the girl kept coming, sobbing so hard she could barely breathe. "Please, listen, they saved me," Lily gasped, collapsing against Daniel's legs. "The man, he followed me, he's on the roof, there's a van." Daniel's partner, Officer Mike Chen, had his hand on his weapon. "Ironside, I'm giving you one chance to explain before this goes sideways. But Ironside wasn't looking at the police. His eyes were locked on the hardware store's roofline, now empty. He's gone. Reaper, the van? Reaper's voice crackled through a radio. Gone too. Pulled out heading east on 4th about 30 seconds ago. Nobody move. Chen barked. Daniel felt the girl trembling against him. He looked down and saw genuine terror in those eyes, not fear of the bikers, but fear for them. That recognition, that protective instinct toward her supposed kidnappers, told Daniel everything. Stand down, Mike, Daniel said quietly. What? I said stand down. Daniel knelt beside Lily, his voice gentle. Sweetie, tell me exactly what happened. From the beginning. Between hiccuping sobs, Lily explained. The birthday party. Walking alone. The man matching her pace. His smile when she looked back. Running to the bikers for help. The figure on the roof. The van. Daniel's blood ran cold. He'd been on the force for 8 years, and he knew a predator's hunting pattern when he heard it. Mike, radio dispatch. Tell them we need all units searching for a white panel van heading east on 4th. Also tell them to pull the traffic cam footage from Maple Avenue for the last 30 minutes. He looked up at Ironside. I owe you an apology. Save it, Ironside said gruffly. Just find that bastard before he finds another kid. Chen was already on his radio, his face pale as he realized what they'd almost done. Dispatch, this is Unit 12. We need immediate backup and, he paused, listening. Say again? Daniel watched his expression shift from confusion to horror. What is it? He demanded. Dispatch says there's been an active Amber Alert advisory for this area since 6 p.m. Child trafficking suspect, last seen in a vehicle matching that description. 3 attempted abductions in neighboring counties over the past 2 weeks. Chen looked at Lily, then at the bikers. She was almost number 4. The weight of that statement settled over everyone like a shroud. Thor, a massive biker with a blonde beard, clenched his fists. How did he know? How did he know she'd be at that party, walking alone at that exact time? It was the question that made Daniel's detective instincts kick into overdrive. Random predators didn't stake out birthday parties. They didn't know a child's routine well enough to predict when she'd be vulnerable. Lily, Daniel asked carefully, did you post anything about the party on social media? Any photos? Lily shook her head. I'm not allowed to have accounts. Mom says I'm too young. What about Emma? The birthday girl? Oh, Lily's eyes widened. Her mom posted everything on Facebook. All the photos, the address, even the time the party ended. She kept saying she wanted everyone to see how perfect it was. Daniel and Chen exchanged grim looks. They'd seen this before. Predators scrolling through public posts, mining them for information, identifying vulnerable children, planning attacks with military precision. We need that van found now, Daniel said into his radio. Consider the occupant armed and extremely dangerous. But even as he said it, he knew the truth. The van was probably already dumped, switched for another vehicle. The suspect had escaped because of their standoff, because they'd been pointing guns at the wrong people while the real monster slipped away. More police cars arrived, and with them came Marcus Martinez, who'd apparently followed the cops from Emma's house. He burst through the police line and grabbed Lily in a fierce hug. You idiot, he sobbed into her hair. You stupid, I thought you were dead. Behind them, Ironside was coordinating with other bikers on their radios. Call everyone. I want riders on every major road out of this city. He's not getting away that easy. Daniel should have told them to stand down, to let the police handle it. But he looked at the 60 bikers who'd formed a human shield around a terrified child, and he made a choice. Where was he last seen heading? He asked Ironside. Industrial District. Near the old railway yard. Daniel nodded slowly. That's Talon Riders' territory. The silence that followed was loaded with meaning. The Iron Circle and the Talon Riders had been rivals for 15 years. This was about to get complicated. The railway yard had been abandoned for 6 years, ever since the freight company moved operations to the port. Now it was a graveyard of rusted boxcars and crumbling platforms, the kind of place where squatters lived and drug deals went down and nobody asked questions. It was also where the Talon Riders ran their legitimate motorcycle repair business, and their less legitimate operations that the police chose to ignore as long as they kept the peace. Ironside knew this. Daniel knew this. And when 3 police cruisers and 40 Iron Circle bikes rolled up to the chain-link fence surrounding the yard at midnight, everyone knew this was going to go badly. The Talon Riders were already waiting. 20 bikes formed a wall across the entrance, their riders standing with arms crossed. At the center stood Viktor Viper Kozlov, the Talon president, a man built like a concrete wall with a shaved head and a scar that ran from his left eye to his jaw. "Turn around, Ironside," Viper called out, his accent thick. "You don't bring police to my territory. You don't bring your club to my gates. This is disrespect." "We're not here for you, Viktor," Ironside said, dismounting his bike. "We're looking for someone. I don't care if you're looking for Santa Claus. You leave. Now." Daniel stepped forward, his badge held high. "Mr. Kozlov, we're investigating an attempted child abduction. The suspect was last seen heading into this area. We need to search." "You need warrant for search." "You have warrant?" Daniel's jaw tightened. "We have probable cause and exigent circumstances." "Fancy words for no warrant," Viper spat on the ground. "Come back tomorrow with paper. Tonight, you leave." Lily had been ordered to stay in the police car with Marcus and another officer, but she could see everything through the window. She watched the 2 groups of bikers facing off, testosterone and territorial pride turning the air electric. Then she saw something that made her grab Marcus's arm. "That jacket," she whispered. "What?" "That guy. Third from the left behind Viper. His jacket has the eagle." Marcus looked. Sure enough, one of the Talon Riders wore a jacket with a distinctive silver eagle emblem on the back, wings spread, talons extended. "So? That's their club symbol." "No," Lily's voice was urgent. "The man who followed me, he had that exact eagle on his jacket. I saw it when he turned under the streetlight." Marcus's eyes went wide. He immediately got out of the car, ignoring the officer's protests, and ran to Daniel. "Officer Wright. Lily says the guy who followed her was wearing a Talon Rider's jacket. That eagle symbol." The effect was instantaneous. Every Iron Circle biker turned to stare at the Talon Riders. Hands moved toward pockets, toward weapons. The temperature of the standoff dropped 20 degrees. "You're protecting a child predator?" Ironside's voice was deadly quiet. Viper's face went from angry to murderous. "What did you say?" "The man who tried to snatch a 9-year-old girl tonight was wearing your colors. Your symbol. That makes this your problem. You call me child predator?" Viper took a step forward, and his riders moved with him. "You come to my home, bring police, accuse me of..." "Wait." Lily's voice cut through the tension. She'd gotten out of the car despite the officer's attempts to stop her, and now she walked between the 2 groups with a courage that made every adult present hold their breath. "Mr. Viper," she said, her voice small but steady. "Can I ask you something?" Viper looked down at her, his expression softening slightly. "What, little one? How many people in your club?" 32 members. "Why? Are any of them really tall? Like, taller than my dad? With long arms?" Viper frowned. "Dimitri is tall. 6'5". "Show her, Dimitri." A massive man with a thick black beard stepped forward. Lily shook her head immediately. No. The man who followed me was thin. Really thin. His jacket was too big for him. Something changed in Viper's expression. Too big? Yeah. Like he borrowed it. Or stole it. Viper turned to his riders, his voice sharp. When was last inventory of club merchandise? A younger Talon rider with a shaved head pulled out his phone, scrolling quickly. 3 weeks ago, boss. Everything accounted for except, he stopped, his face going pale. Except 2 jackets that went missing from the shop during that break-in. We thought it was just kids stealing souvenirs. The revelation hit like a bomb. Someone had stolen Talon riders' jackets. Someone was impersonating them. Using their colors to move through the industrial district without suspicion, hiding in plain sight. Viper's expression transformed from anger to something far more dangerous, a man realizing he'd been used. This man, he said slowly, looking at Ironside. He makes my club look like criminals. He uses our symbol to hunt children. He turned to his riders. Find him. Search every building, every boxcar, every hole in this yard. If he's here, we bring him to police. Nobody touches him, we do this legal. Ironside nodded once. Iron Circle will take the perimeter. Make sure he doesn't slip out. Daniel should have objected. Should have insisted this was police business. But he had 3 officers and 2 rival motorcycle clubs suddenly working together. Sometimes you took the help you could get. The hunt was on. The railway yard was a maze of shadows and rust. 40 years of freight operations had left behind a labyrinth of forgotten cargo containers, derailed boxcars, and maintenance sheds with broken windows that gaped like missing teeth. Viper divided his riders into teams of 3. Check every container, every car, every shadow. You find anything, you radio. You don't play hero. Ironside did the same with the Iron Circle, positioning bikes at every exit point. He's cornered. Trapped rats bite hardest. Stay sharp. Daniel coordinated with dispatch, requesting thermal imaging drones and K-9 units, but they were 20 minutes out. 20 minutes the suspect could use to escape. Lily remained in the police car with Marcus, but she'd rolled down the window, listening to the radio chatter. The officer assigned to watch them had given up trying to keep her contained. Sector 3 clear, a voice crackled through the radio. Sector 5 clear. Wait, a new voice, urgent. A Talon rider. Movement in the old freight office. 2nd floor, east window. Every light in the yard swung toward a decrepit 2-story building near the back fence. Its windows were mostly shattered, and graffiti covered the lower walls. The perfect hiding spot. Surround it, Viper ordered. Nobody goes in until police arrive. But even as he spoke, a figure appeared in the 2nd floor window, tall, thin, wearing a jacket with a silver eagle. For a split second, he stood there in full view, illuminated by a dozen headlights. Then he ran. Not down the stairs. Through the back window, crashing through the remaining glass and landing on a pile of old pallets that broke his fall. He rolled, came up running, and sprinted toward the active railway line that still cut through the eastern edge of the yard. He's heading for the tracks. Thor shouted. The bikers gave chase on foot, but they were navigating terrain of loose gravel and railroad ties. The suspect had a head start and was running like his life depended on it. Because it did. Daniel sprinted after them, speaking rapidly into his radio. Suspect fleeing east toward active rail line. All units converge. A horn blasted through the night. Long, loud, urgent. A freight train was coming. The suspect didn't slow down. He ran straight for the tracks, timing his approach as the massive train barreled through. For a moment, he disappeared behind the moving freight cars, and Daniel's heart sank. Then Reaper spotted it, a flicker of movement inside one of the open freight cars. The suspect had jumped aboard. "He's on the train." Daniel screamed into his radio. "Eastbound freight, just past mile marker 42. The train was picking up speed, its steel wheels shrieking against the rails. The bikers could only watch as it carried their suspect away, the sound of its horn mocking them as it disappeared into the darkness. Viper slammed his fist against a rusted container, the boom echoing across the yard. "We had him." Ironside was already on his phone. "Where does this line go?" A Talon rider named Sergey, who worked for the rail company, pulled out his phone and checked the schedule. "That's the eastbound route to the county line. Makes one stop at the old Millbrook depot in about 40 minutes, then continues to the state border. Can we beat it there? If we take Highway 7 and push speed limits?" "Maybe." Daniel was coordinating with dispatch, his voice tight with frustration. "We need units at Millbrook Depot immediately. Suspect is on eastbound freight train, extremely dangerous, wanted in connection with multiple child abduction attempts." But dispatch had bad news. All units are responding to a multi-vehicle accident on Highway 7. Roads completely blocked. "We can reroute, but it'll take 90 minutes minimum." 90 minutes. The train would be long gone by then. The suspect vanished into another jurisdiction, another hunting ground. "Then we go," Viper said simply. "We know back roads. We get there first." Daniel knew he should say no. Should follow protocol, wait for backup, do this by the book. But he thought about Lily's terrified face, about 3 other children in neighboring counties who'd barely escaped this predator, about the next victim who might not be so lucky. "Unmarked route," he said quietly. "Nothing official. If anyone asks, you were never there." Ironside and Viper exchanged a look, the first moment of genuine respect between them in 15 years. "Let's ride," Ironside said. Within minutes, 60 motorcycles and 3 police cruisers were screaming down back roads that didn't appear on most maps, racing against a freight train carrying a monster. But as they rode, none of them noticed the text message that appeared on the suspect's phone, still connected to a cell tower. "Abort Millbrook. Target-rich environment downtown tomorrow night. County Festival. We'll have new vehicle and documents ready." The predator hadn't been working alone. And his partners were already planning the next hunt. The Millbrook depot was empty when they arrived. The freight train had stopped for exactly 90 seconds, long enough for someone to jump off and disappear into the industrial sprawl beyond the platform. They'd lost him. Daniel spent the next day coordinating with county police, reviewing security footage, interviewing railway workers. Nothing. The suspect had vanished like smoke. But the investigation had revealed something worse. When techs finally cracked the suspect's discarded burner phone, found smashed on the tracks, they discovered messages that made Daniel's blood run cold. He was part of a network. 3 men, possibly 4, working together across state lines. Sharing information about targets. Comparing notes on security weaknesses. Trading photographs of children they'd identified as vulnerable. And tomorrow night, the annual Riverside County Night Market would draw thousands of families to the downtown waterfront. "It's perfect hunting ground for them," Daniel told the emergency task force assembled in the police conference room. "Crowded. Chaotic. Parents distracted. Multiple exit points. We've increased uniform presence, but we need more eyes." Ironside stood at the back of the room, arms crossed. He'd been invited as a community liaison, Police Code 4, "We need your help but can't officially ask for it." "Iron Circle will be there," he said. "We'll volunteer as festival security. Parking lot monitors, crowd control, whatever you need." Viper, sitting across the room, nodded slowly. "Talon riders also. We watch parking areas, side streets. These men hunt in shadows. We bring light. Daniel knew he was watching something historic, two rival clubs united by a common enemy. But he also knew it might not be enough. The night market opened at 6 p.m. By 6:30, the waterfront was packed. Food trucks lined the pier, their grills sending up smoke that smelled like heaven. A band played on the main stage. Children ran between booths selling handmade jewelry and paintings, their laughter mixing with the sound of the river lapping against the docks. Lily had begged to come. Her mother had refused at first, but Lily had been insistent with a logic that was hard to argue against. If I hide, he wins. If I'm too scared to go outside, then he already took something from me. So the Martinez family came, but with conditions. Marcus stayed within arm's reach. Their father, a quiet man who worked construction, positioned himself like a linebacker ready to tackle anyone suspicious. And Reaper, who'd insisted on being Lily's personal shadow, walked beside them in his iron circle vest. Around the market's perimeter, bikers in matching vests stood at strategic intervals. To festival goers, they looked like volunteer security. To anyone watching, they were a warning. Daniel walked the crowd in plain clothes, his trained eyes scanning for anything wrong. His partner Chen covered the north entrance. 12 other officers blended into the crowd. For 2 hours, nothing happened. Families ate funnel cakes and won goldfish at carnival games. The sun set over the river, and strings of lights twinkled to life overhead. Then Daniel's radio crackled. Possible sighting. Male, tall, thin-build, watching families near the taco truck. He's not eating, not shopping. Just watching. Daniel's pulse quickened. Description? Different jacket, baseball cap pulled low. But the stance, it matches. Daniel moved through the crowd, trying to look casual. He spotted Chen doing the same from the opposite direction. Between them, partially hidden behind a food truck, stood a man who fit the description perfectly. He was watching a little girl. Maybe 7 years old, eating cotton candy while her parents argued about something, distracted. Daniel spoke quietly into his radio. All units, potential suspect behind Lucky's Tacos. Do not approach until we confirm. The man's head snapped up. Somehow, despite Daniel's plain clothes and distance, he'd sensed the attention. His eyes met Daniel's for a split second. Then he ran. Suspect fleeing east. Daniel shouted, abandoning his cover and sprinting after him. The crowd erupted into chaos. Parents grabbed children. Someone screamed. The band stopped playing mid-song. The suspect was fast, weaving through the crowd with practiced ease, heading for the pedestrian bridge that connected the waterfront to the downtown district. Once across that bridge, he'd have a dozen escape routes. But he hadn't counted on the bikers. Ironside's voice boomed across the radio network shared between Iron Circle and Talon riders. All units, suspect heading for River Bridge. Execute Iron Circle formation. From different parts of the market, from parking lots and side streets, engines roared to life. The suspect reached the bridge entrance and looked back, seeing Daniel and Chen closing in. He turned to run across. And stopped dead. On the other side of the bridge, motorcycles were already pulling into position. Not just a few. Dozens. Their headlights created a wall of light that turned the bridge into a cage. Iron Circle from the south. Talon riders from the north. Police closing from behind. For the first time all night, the hunter had become the hunted. The pedestrian bridge hung suspended over the river like a steel spiderweb, its walkway barely wide enough for 3 people to stand side by side. 200 feet of chain-link fence on either side, a 40-foot drop to dark water below. The suspect stood frozen at the center, trapped. Behind him, Daniel and Chen approached slowly, hands near their weapons. Ahead, the bikers maintained their formation, a wall of chrome and leather blocking the exit. Below, On the riverside paths, more officers were taking position. "It's over," Daniel called out. "There's nowhere to go." The man turned slowly, and for the first time, they got a clear look at his face. Mid-30s, unremarkable features, the kind of face that disappeared in a crowd. Except for his eyes, cold and calculating, still searching for an escape even now. "Put your hands where I can see them," Chen ordered. The suspect's hands rose slowly. But his weight shifted toward the railing. "Don't even think about it," Daniel warned. "That's a 40-foot drop. The current will pull you under in seconds." "Better than prison." His voice was flat, emotionless. On the far end of the bridge, Ironside dismounted his bike. "You know what we do to people who hurt children? What happens to them in prison?" The suspect's jaw tightened. Viper dismounted as well, walking to stand beside Ironside, a united front that 2 weeks ago would have been impossible. "You wear our colors. You make people think Talon riders are animals. For this, you pay." "I didn't hurt anyone," the suspect said, his voice taking on a wheedling quality. "I was just walking." "That's not a crime." "You followed a 9-year-old girl for 4 blocks, Daniel shot back. "You ran when confronted. You're connected to 3 other abduction attempts across county lines. We found the messages on your phone." Something flickered in his expression. "Fear, finally." "We know about your partners," Chen added, moving closer. "The network. We're taking all of you down." That's when the suspect made his move. He lunged toward the railing, throwing one leg over in a desperate attempt to jump. But he'd miscalculated, the railing was slick from river mist, and his boot slipped. He fell backward onto the bridge walkway, his ankle twisting with an audible crack. He screamed and tried to scramble up, but his leg gave out. He crawled toward the railing anyway, driven by panic, dragging his injured leg behind him. Daniel and Chen were on him in seconds, Chen's knee in his back, handcuffs clicking into place. "You're done," Daniel said quietly. The suspect thrashed once, then went still, his forehead pressed against the cold metal of the bridge. "You don't understand. They'll come after me. When they find out I got caught." "Then you'd better start talking," Daniel said. "Give us names, locations, everything. Maybe we can protect you." "You can't protect anyone," he laughed bitterly. "You think I'm the first? We've been doing this for 3 years. 3 years, and you only caught me because of a stupid kid and some bikers." The words hung in the air like poison. Chen hauled him to his feet, careful of the injured ankle. "Let's go." As they walked him off the bridge, the crowd that had gathered burst into applause. Parents held their children tighter. The bikers maintained their formation, creating a corridor for the police to move through. Lily watched from behind the police line where she'd been kept safe throughout the chase. She saw the man who'd followed her, who'd smiled at her in the darkness, now limping in handcuffs toward a police cruiser. Reaper stood beside her, his scarred face stern. "You okay, kid? Is it really over?" Reaper hesitated. "This part is." But he said something about partners. Lily had heard it too. The suspect's warning about people coming after him. The network that had been operating for 3 years. Daniel was already on his phone, coordinating with FBI field agents. The suspect's phone records, his computer, his apartment, everything would be seized and analyzed. Every contact traced. Every message decoded. This wasn't just about one predator anymore. This was about dismantling an entire network. As the police cruiser drove away, its red and blue lights reflecting off the river, Ironside and Viper stood together watching. "Your club stood up when it mattered," Ironside said gruffly. "So did yours," Viper replied. "Maybe we've been stupid, fighting each other all these years. Maybe." They shook hands, a simple gesture that meant everything. Around them, Iron Circle and Talon riders began to pack up, preparing to escort families safely to their cars. The festival was over, but something new had begun. A partnership forged not in violence or territory, but in the simple shared belief that some things mattered more than old grudges. Children mattered more. And in the morning, Lily would wake up to a world that was just a little bit safer than it had been the night before. But the story wasn't quite finished yet. The Riverside Community Center hadn't seen this many people since the mayor's election night 3 years ago. Every seat was filled, and people lined the walls, craning their necks to see the stage. Lily sat in the front row between her mother and Marcus, wearing a brand new jacket that made her feel like a superhero. It was kid-sized, made of soft leather, with custom patches on both sleeves, the Iron Circle's gear symbol on the left, the Talon Rider's silver eagle on the right. Across the back, in silver embroidery, it read, "Young Guardian." On stage, Police Chief Margaret Rowland stood at the podium, her expression proud. 3 days ago, our community faced a crisis. A predator was hunting our children, using sophisticated tactics and working as part of a larger network. She paused, letting that sink in. But something extraordinary happened. People who had been rivals for 15 years put aside their differences. They worked together. And because of that unity, we didn't just catch one predator, we exposed an entire trafficking network operating across 4 states. The crowd erupted in applause. The FBI had moved fast. The suspect, identified as Derek Halloran, a former social worker with access to children's records, had broken within 12 hours of interrogation. He'd given up names, locations, methods. By dawn, coordinated raids had resulted in 7 arrests across 3 states. Servers had been seized. Thousands of surveillance photos deleted. And most importantly, 2 children who'd already been taken were recovered and returned to their families. I want to invite some special people to the stage, Chief Rowland continued. First, Officer Daniel Wright and Officer Mike Chen, whose quick thinking and dedication broke this case wide open. Daniel and Chen walked on stage to thunderous applause, both looking uncomfortable with the attention. Next, I want to recognize 2 organizations that proved community protection isn't just a job for police, it's everyone's responsibility. Will Ironside, president of the Iron Circle Motorcycle Club, and Victor Kozlov, president of the Talon Riders, please join us? Ironside and Viper walked up together, and the applause somehow got louder. Parents stood. Children cheered. Even the mayor, sitting in the second row, was clapping enthusiastically. These 2 clubs have agreed to establish the Safe Walk Home program, Chief Rowland announced. Starting next week, trained volunteers from both clubs will provide walking escorts for any child who needs to get home safely. They'll coordinate with police, schools, and parents to create designated safe routes and response protocols. Viper stepped to the microphone, his accent thick with emotion. In my country, we have saying, the wolves protect the forest when shepherds work together. Iron Circle and Talon Riders, we were wolves fighting each other while real predators hunted. No more. We protect the forest now. Ironside took the mic next. A smart little girl asked me for help when she needed it most. She trusted us when she had every reason to be scared. That trust, that's sacred. We're not going to let her down. We're not going to let any kid down. Not on our watch. The applause was deafening. And finally, Chief Rowland said, smiling warmly, I want to recognize the bravest person in this room. Lily Martinez, would you come up here? Lily's mother gave her an encouraging nudge. On shaky legs, Lily climbed the stage steps. Chief Rowland knelt down to her level. Lily, you did something incredibly smart and incredibly brave. When you were in danger, you asked for help. You trusted your instincts. And because of your courage, we were able to stop someone who'd hurt a lot of people and was planning to hurt more. She held up a certificate. On behalf of the Riverside Police Department and this community, we're naming you an honorary junior guardian. This means you've shown us what real bravery looks like. But it was Ironside who presented the jacket, the one Lily was already wearing. This jacket, Ironside said into the microphone, was made by members of both clubs working together. It's one of a kind. Just like you, he smiled warmly. And it comes with a lifetime promise, you're part of our family now. Both families. You need anything, you call. You're scared, you call. You just want to talk, you call. We've got your back, kiddo. Always. Lily hugged Ironside, then, surprising everyone, she hugged Viper too. The massive biker's scarred face softened as he gently patted her back. The crowd rose to their feet, applauding not just for Lily, but for what she represented. A community that had come together. Enemies who'd become allies. And the simple truth that protecting children mattered more than pride, territory, or old grudges. As Lily looked out at the sea of faces, parents, police officers, bikers, teachers, neighbors, she realized something important. She'd been terrified that night on Maple Avenue. She'd thought she was alone. But she'd never been alone. Not really. Her community had been there all along, waiting to be called. And now that they'd answered once, they'd never stop answering. The Iron Circle had become something bigger than motorcycles and leather. It had become hope. The end.